So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and let's discuss which one is better between the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra and the S25 Plus. Now, from a pure spec sheet, clearly the S25 Ultra, that's an easy one. Goodbye, have a nice day. But that's not what the aim of this video is. The aim of this video is to help you decide which one's better for you. So which one deserves your money? Like, which one are you going to be happy with? That's what I'm going to break down here in detail to help you make that decision if you're researching and trying to choose between the two. Now, the very first thing we're going to talk about is design and build, the practical uses, the premium feel of each. So we'll start with the S25 Ultra. Now, the Ultra got a little bit nicer on the edges here this year. Definitely easier to hold, a little bit flatter feeling all around. Some people don't personally think it looks better than the S24 Ultra, but overall, I do got to say, I really like its reduction in weight. The phone is 218 grams and it's relatively thin, 8.2 millimeters thin, but it's not like Galaxy Edge thin or anything like that. But it's definitely more comfortable than before. However, it's still a pretty tall phone. It's still a pretty big phone, and it still feels like a super large phone to use day to day. I mean, it does rock a 6.9-inch display. So this thing is definitely not the most practical to hold every day in the lineup for sure. But it's definitely the best I've seen for, like, one of the best I've seen for larger phones. It definitely feels pretty good. But the S25 Plus wins, I think, in terms of the feel in hand. It's just better. Like, it's 190 grams. It's 6.7 ounces, a whole ounce lighter than the 7.69 ounce S25 Ultra, which just says that when you hold it day to day, this really tends to feel better for your day to day use. Even when you put a case on the S25 Plus, it then barely becomes the weight of the S25 Ultra without a case on it. It also has the same Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the back and the front, so you have basically the same feel. It is an aluminum frame, and I can't say that I really tell that much of a difference. I know titanium is better technically, but it doesn't really feel that way day to day. The aluminum frame is a good choice for lightness. We also do have a much thinner feel here. This is only 7.3 millimeters thick. So the S25 Plus just tends to feel like an ultra thin phone. I'm waiting for the Edge to come. We're going to compare this as well, but this one already feels ridiculously thin. So this is going to be the one I choose to recommend for practical day-to-day use. However, keep in mind that the S25 Plus definitely has some drawbacks over the S25 Ultra. One of those being you don't get the S Pen on this larger phone here. So that is a large phone, 6.7, but this one does house the S Pen and also comes with a slightly bigger battery. So that is the benefit. You also do get yourself 0.2-inch larger screen. Now, is that really going to change your life? Absolutely not. But it's definitely slightly better for media because you are looking at a little bit bigger and an anti-reflective coating. So the Ultra is the king of media, but the S25 Plus is only a hair behind it. It's very, very close. It's almost indistinguishable. So definitely, I do have to say you will probably like using the S25 Plus day to day more for just practical use, but for power use and for heavy media consumption, I would pick the S25 Ultra. So let's touch on the display. Now, this one does have a really sharp panel. We do have nice dark mode here, but we also do have ourselves a QHD Plus display. It says right there in the screen resolution. So you do have a very sharp text overall. This is 498 pixels per inch though, because it's across this is a 6.9. So it actually reduces the pixels per inch, meaning that it's slightly less sharp. It's nothing you're going to see with the human eye, but it's definitely slightly less sharp than the Galaxy S25 Plus, which is really different because before they were putting 1080p panels on here. However, there is a saving grace for the Ultra over the Plus, and that is its anti-reflective properties. We don't have that here on the S25 Plus, so it just looks like a standard OLED display. However, it's still the dynamic AMOLED 2x 120 Hz, so it's still a higher than normal. It's still a flagship top tier panel. Let's not get it twisted, but it just doesn't have that DX anti-reflective coating, which I thought was noticeable. I can just see it here. I got a screen protector now, but there's just more glare on this phone than the S25 Ultra, which has much less glare. And that to me makes this a better screen experience. However, some people don't like the way anti-reflective looks. I personally think it looks just fine here on this phone. It is definitely an enjoyable panel, and it is noticeably different. So if you want the best of the best, in terms of that kind of stuff, you would probably enjoy the S25 Ultra more. However, if you do want to go with something more traditional but still 2K panel, you're going to absolutely adore the S25 Plus. It's just a fantastic panel, and both of them do have really thin bezels, so you don't really have to worry too much about the bezels, although I do believe that the bezels looked a little bit thinner on the 16 Pro from Apple, but we're not talking Apple here, but I'm just saying there is phones that have slightly thinner bezels than this, but this is pretty good here on the S25 Plus. If you take a look here, that's one of the things they improved too with the Ultra this year is thinner bezels. So you no longer have to go to the Plus to get those thinner bezels. They're definitely more noticeable now than ever. And this is one of the bigger changes to the S25 Ultra that you'll find versus the S24 Ultra is those thin bezels there. So you don't really have a benefit either way. At the end of the day, I do think that the sharper resolution's here, but the actual better looking display is still the Ultra. So if you want the top of Samsung's lineup with display, get the Ultra, but you're not really settling too much. It just has that more standard look that most smartphones have. And if you're used to that and you like that, the S25 Plus is still an amazing panel. It really is. So because Samsung is getting all of their phones kind of like in the same One UI 7, as long as you have similar chip, they're going to perform exactly the same. So there's really no issues between these two. They both perform like a champ. I don't care what you're doing. And they both do have enough power to support multitasking with ease, not even breaking a sweat at all. So definitely you can get on with the same task day to day here on these phones and not have to worry either way. So I would say if you're looking for the ultimate multitasking, you win either way because both of them do support DeX, and you can still pop view windows on both of them. Although for finer tuned navigation with a mobile device, I would tend to prefer the S25 Ultra with using the S Pen because you can navigate these pop view windows and stuff really easily. So if I grab my S Pen, I can kind of just like move these around very easily and kind of scroll over here. It's just a little bit more fine-tuned with this tool, but at the same time, this is still fantastic over here. And if you go up into the quick settings, let's go over here. We scroll down, you'll see DeX is right there. And then same for this phone right there. So you can expand this to a monitor on both phones. So no real benefit to either on that one. So I do have the same. They're both amazing performance, both 8 Elite chips for Galaxy, and they both have 12 gigs of RAM. I think Samsung should have separated these two by putting they should have put the 16 gigs of RAM on the Ultra and left 12 on the Plus. That's personally what I think they should have did, but you can see if we look right here, they are clocked at the same speed, 3.53, 3.53, so it's exactly the same here. No different outcome here. So when talking about the cameras, the Samsung S25 Ultra is always going to be the one on top. It is the top of the line. And really where it tends to shine is its further reaching zoom. It can go all the way up to 100 times, which is definitely really good, but it is a 200 megapixel. So if we go over here, we can enable 200 megapixels. But when we go ahead and we take a look at the S25 Plus's camera, I do think this is a great offering as well because the results are still decent and you can go 20x, 30x. However, this is rocking the 50 megapixels. So if you want a thin phone that's like more manageable to hold, the Edge has the 200 megapixel, but it doesn't have the telephoto. So there is something to be said about that. But at the same time, if you are looking for mostly just a great versatile camera setup, I think the Plus is going to be fine for you. Honestly, it has Expert RAW, Pro Video. It has all the features. If we go over a video, you can still do the log mode on this phone. In addition to that, it can do 8K 60 or 8K 30 with 4K 60 on the rear. And if you flip it around, you can actually do the 4K 60 on the front as well. So it's a very small difference. And I think only the most pro of pro users will actually benefit from the enhancements that the camera on the S25 Ultra gives you. So it's a good premium camera in your pocket for the S25 Plus, and I think it's probably the better choice unless you really need that extra zoom or probably a little bit better night photography. That's going to go to the Ultra. But honestly, I think a lot of people aren't going to actually use the Ultra to that ability, to like its top level ability, like what it can really do. I'm not saying you aren't. I'm just saying a lot of folks in general probably will never reach its full potential or use it to its full potential. And so the S25 and S25 Plus here have way more than enough cameras. When it comes to battery life, both of them do have the same charging battery features where you can change different power saving modes, battery protection modes. They do both house the same features because it's One UI 7. However, keep in mind that we are talking about a 5000 here on the left, but it is powering a slightly larger panel. Both of them do wirelessly charge at 15 watts, and they can reverse wireless charge at 4.5. They both can support a max charging. You have to have a Samsung 45 watt charger for these to get this 45 watt, but it can both charge relatively fast compared to their top competitor, the iPhone. But when it comes to some of the Chinese competitors doing like 100 watts, 80 watts, those phones are definitely charging a lot faster than these. But this is a good balance between not too slow, but also lasting a relatively long time. And so the runtime, though, I find the S25 Ultra to just have slightly better runtime for me. It's not a lot, but it's a little bit. So I find this to just last just a little bit longer. It's probably within the range of 30 minutes. So I can't say pick that for 30 minutes of battery life, but if you're trying to eke out every little dollar, every little battery life you can get, technically the S25 Ultra is better, but S25 Plus is still fantastic. Now, when it comes to the audio, one thing about Samsung's, always turn on the Dolby Atmos. Put it in auto mode if you don't want to tweak it personally, but just put it on. It always gives you the loudest speaker experience. But one thing I have to tell you I found strange was that the S25 Plus actually has a louder speaker. It was about a decibel louder in my testing, which is really weird because you would think the Ultra has the better speaker. Although the Ultra does have the deeper blacks on the screen, it doesn't have the louder speaker. But I mean, we're talking a decibel, so the average person's not going to be able to notice it too much. But that was pretty impressive. I don't know if it's because it's coming out of this thinner body. Maybe it just echoed more. It just sounded a little bit louder. But that's what I have to say about the S25 Plus. The silver shadow, too, is a striking color. It's kind of like a mix between silver and gray. I quite like it. Also, I noticed with this one, it's just a clean camera setup. We have that extra sensor over here on the back of the S25 Ultra. Both of these also do come with SIM card trays, which are nice. I hope they never go away from those because I love my SIM card slots in my phones. Allow me to quickly switch between phones and use the phone I want to use at the time I want to use it. So don't get rid of that, or I'm going to chew you out here in the next review. And you can use AI on both of these phones, including things like Gemini, Grok. You can download on basically any of their, but both of them do house the same circle to search feature. Just hold down here at the bottom. In addition, they do have the Bixby for assistance. You can also, but by default, they're pretty much going to be on Gemini on the home key here, on the power key. That's pretty cool. But you do have the Galaxy AI set up for both of them. And they'll tell you about that when you first set these phones up. You will be having the Galaxy AI experiences, which is great call assist, writing assist. And you're not really missing on anything if you go with the Plus and save some money. You can also choose to not process this device, process it in the cloud. You can actually process the data on device only, which is pretty cool. If you want to do that, I turn that off to showcase that to you. If we go over here, it'll tell you about advanced intelligence, what it does. You can read about that as well. But it's cool that you do have the same AI features on both of them. So it doesn't really feel like if you get this, you're missing out anything on this. When it comes to the actual phone experience, I do think the S25 Plus is better because while they both do have the same modem, so they both do have like the same signal strength, this is more comfortable to hold and put up to the ear. Lighter phone, more practical. So I'd pick this phone if I'm making a lot of phone calls. If that's what you're doing, this is the more practical phone. This is going to feel a little bit bulkier holding it up to your face. Definitely not my favorite as a phone. This just feels like a big brick like a battery pack. I'm just putting up to my face with the Ultra, but I don't make a lot of phone calls, so I don't really use it that much for that. And when I do, I tend to use the Galaxy Buds, or I will use the speakerphone for that. Another thing I did want to mention is gaming. It's something I want to talk about. I would pick the Ultra for gaming, and one of the main reasons why is, yes, we have like a half an hour more battery, which is important because if I'm in the middle of a match and my battery's about to drain, I'm not trying to like the phone to kick out, you know, so I'll take that extra battery. But the real reason is because of its like thicker feel and the way it's shaped, this is a really easy phone to hold for like landscape gaming. So I do like this for gaming. Also, because it's a little bit thicker, I think it has a little bit more room in there to dissipate heat. Although I haven't found really any heat problems on the S25 Plus either, because it does have a vapor chamber. So it does a great job as well. This one's downloaded resources on there when I was trying to showcase how it is. But this one's also good. It just feels a little more slippery, like a little thinner. So this feels more like our daily powerhouse, just big daily phone. Whereas that feels more like the S25 Ultra feels more like our everything. Like everything in one, you cannot beat it. Not saying this is bad. This isn't bad, but it just doesn't feel like it was purpose built for this kind of thing. It just feels like more of a daily practical phone that you would use. So yeah, this is more the daily big phone for people, and I would say this is the Ultra Beast. Obviously, for everything. You want to be gaming, do the gaming out here. You want to run a whole YouTube channel from your phone. You probably want to do that on the Ultra with its larger battery backup and the S Pen down there. When it comes to the overall better phone, though, I think for the majority of you guys, the S25 Plus is the better phone. It's more of a sweet spot. It's less money, and I don't think you sacrifice much at all going with this phone. It has a 2K panel. It's got super thin bezels, a super beautiful feel in the hand, and it's more than enough. It's more than enough with the camera. It's still like at a pro level. You can zoom in very far, so that's pretty good. And there's just not a lot of sacrifices. The anti-reflective is not the end of the world by going with the S25 Ultra. But I think if you're that type of person who's really into tech, you want the best tech that Samsung can put on a phone, but you also want to use your phone to maybe run some social media on a tripod. You want the highest quality video, the highest quality photography, everything possible that Samsung can throw right now. You'll want the S25 Ultra because it is the king of that. In addition, if you're in that niche crowd that does do the, S Pen drawings and artworks, and you use this for navigating sometimes, and you also want to create notes on your phone, AI select and stuff of that sort, this is going to be the only option. But you really got to use those extra features to justify this cost because it is significant. We're talking a couple $100s here, which is almost the price of a budget phone. So definitely, I think for most, the S25 Plus will probably be better, but the S25 Ultra is, from a technology standpoint, the slightly better phone here in 2025. But it's really good that they offer a really compelling Plus model this year. Like before, they were doing a 1080p panel on the Plus. I wasn't feeling that, so it's a really compelling model. Can't wait to put it up against the Edge. I'll put both of these up against the Edge, so stay tuned. We're going to do some comparisons and showcase all the Galaxies, how thin they are by comparison, as well as some speed tests. And stay tuned for more content on the S25 Plus as I just picked this one up. I haven't covered this one yet. So thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.